This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
All right, so first of all, before we get started, I wanted to welcome Allison Manuel, the new city planner. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
We're super excited for you, and Easthampton is super excited too. So I want to welcome you to the meeting. Thank you for coming. And also thank you for coming to the Easthampton Futures Project. I know some of you came. That was an awesome event. Thank you all for coming out.
What project? Sorry.
The Easthampton Futures Project, we'll talk about that. Anyway, so welcome. And I also wanted to say, for those of you who aren't aware, that Felicia did get voted into city councilor, so she is now the city councilor of precinct 2, so which is great, but she had to recuse herself from this committee as a result. So she's no longer here. We were sad to say, but we're happy that she's
in
in
the
another
building
capacity.
right now.
Yeah.
At appointments.
Oh, okay. Great. Awesome.
Is it a conflict of interest thing, or you just can't?
I think it's just too much for,
Okay.
you know, so, and a lot of meetings, I think, do overlap, so, yeah. So anyway, that's kind of sort of the business at hand. So with that, let's get into it. And does anybody did everybody look over the minutes?
I saw a correction
Okay.
that's needed. Under public speak, it was currently works in West Springfield. Right, Allison?
Sorry.
Oh, no, that's okay. You were not expected to look at the minutes. I just happened to catch that.
Is it on the back page?
It's on the front page under public speak, under the minutes.
Oh, I see now. Okay. Oh, well, as of that date, yes, I was in West Springfield still.
Yeah, I just wanted to, exactly, that's
Okay,
why I
so-
wanted to.
Currently works in the area.
Yeah, starting soon.
Okay, so that should be.
Oh, and we didn't talk about whether or not the new planning director would be a voting member of the ECA committee. Historically, they have been, but that was something we're gonna leave open and kind of see how
Okay,
things
so let's,
land, so
so we'll cross that off,
it sounds like there was maybe a misunderstanding.
I think.
Maybe a
We'll
vote.
discuss.
Potentially will be.
Potentially, we'll weigh in.
Or should we just exit from the whole?
I mean,
Will you invite her to meetings?
You
it's.
are invited to meetings.
It's
I just don't want to put pressure on you, like in the minutes, maybe?
Yeah,
So
I
we'll
think
just
it was,
scratch that
I don't
from the
know how
minutes.
it,
And then, instead of, it should be West
West Springfield.
West Springfield. Okay, so I'll make those adjustments before I send it in. Okay, thank you for catching that.
Motion to approve with the correction.
Okay, great. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, anybody have public speak?
I do have something that actually my wife told me to bring up. It's just a minor note that on the City Arts website, on the About Us page, there's a list of current ECA members that looks to be very outdated. Marjorie Zake,
Oh, wow.
wow.
Denise
Yep.
Riggs.
Okay,
Actually, Ted and Pascalina, you're the only ones on this list that are actually here.
Weird. I thought that was like hidden from the world. I guess not.
No.
Okay.
So I mean, just like-
Update.
You have a
Update.
good
That's an easy
picture, I like
fix.
that,
Yeah.
though. The silhouette is a good way to go.
Yeah, it's still matches you.
Denise Riggs too. Wow.
Good catch.
It wasn't me.
All right. So, I'm gonna get into the programming updates.
Yeah. So I imagine that some of you came out on Saturday night for Art Walk. It was a very well-attended event. I think last December was like the most well-attended Art Walk since pre-COVID, and this by far outnumbered our last Art Walk's numbers. Many of the different participating venues are like getting creative and collaborating, and that's something we talked about. I was thinking of Felicia. She's like, the onus needs to be on the venues. Like, we're doing all we can. We're doing what
It's great to see them do it.
we say we're doing, and then yeah, it was just like so brilliant and awesome. So, and I know it was very well received by our community members. And I just want to applaud this group for all the support. This is like a year in the making, getting the radio ads, putting extra funding toward marketing. Having a marketing assistant has been really instrumental for keeping consistency with our messaging. And yeah, I think the Saturdays, the earlier time, like all of these decisions that were community generated and supported by this group, like really have allowed for the growth that we're seeing. And I think these things take time, and we're like seeing the growth in the garden, and a lot of really happy community members who I tend to hear from when they're not feeling so great, and they were out in droves and just really communicative about how pleased they were about the changes. So I just feel really great about that. I know this has been a long time coming and a real huge effort. So thank you all. I want to just kind of continue with all the great work that's being done. So yeah, it was a great turnout.
I was at the Oxbow on Saturday night, and people were really, really happy. I mean, it wasn't like an opening because the artists had already had their opening early in January. It was sort of a closing, but they were open. And they brought up that someone had said that you said that Easthampton had like a bus that could like possibly be like shuttling during the Arts Walk, because people are always saying that at the Oxbow, like, oh, it'd be so great if there was a little schedule along with a map, which I printed out and put there, and it was like at 6:15, you know, like the shuttle pulls up and brings you to Eastworks, like, be so cool. Like there would be a big.
So there has been
I had never heard of this, but I was like, oh, cool, there's a bus.
About a shuttle bus, and I will say,
train. Could we borrow that?
The Economic Development Committee, going back a couple years, were really into this. Keystone has this little trolley bus. Yeah. We've talked to them. Like, it is. I just want to say it's a wonderful idea, and it makes a lot of logistical sense in certain ways. However, it is also logistically very, very challenging. There's insurance, like we're a municipality, there's insurance, there's who is hired as the driver. It would be very, very costly. And I think also introducing something like that where it's like, on a set schedule or making the rounds and you don't know where it is, like it can also potentially cause a lot of confusion. People might miss the bus. Like, I hate to sound so
negative?
Shoot it down, just shoot it down right away.
But I just want to say it is not an uncommon.
I should have shut it down when people were talking about it.
But it is also like, if it were simple, it would be fantastic. Even for cultural chaos, it's like have parking at the high school and drive down and just make. It's very logistically not simple.
Okay.
So that means does that mean we don't look into the possibility just because it's not simple?
Have
we costed this out? You know, like with insurance, blah, 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 yada, yada, this, that kind of thing? Has there ever been any cost estimates?
There have not been any recent cost estimates. I know that the EDIC had been working on it. I personally feel really hesitant to say I will look into that this month because I feel like based on our current capacity and all that's on our plate and all that's coming up, I think maybe this is like, if it were really important to this group, a conversation we could return to in the summer when things quiet down with upcoming programs. So maybe it's something we can all think about and discuss, or even put on a next agenda to discuss it as an option.
The reason I'm sort of advocating for it is because it's a continual complaint between Eastworks and Cottage Street that Art Walk doesn't find its way down to Eastworks because logistically, Eastworks is out of the loop. You can walk there if you want to, but most people don't even think of that. So if there's a way of bringing these two disparate cultural districts together, why not?
I wanted to add two thoughts. One is this Saturday at 4 p.m. it was already busy at 4 at Eastworks.
That's because
they did their concerted outreach.
Right.
They got tip top, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Because they put themselves into the game, I think, more this time,
Right.
which is an important factor, as you would say.
Yeah.
I worked for an organization that offered, this is the second thing, a trolley for an art walk type thing and in open studios. And it was expensive, it was a liability nightmare, it was a pain in the ass. But because we offered it, we could never pull it back.
Right.
And it just became this ongoing thing. Because people liked it, but they didn't really need it. It didn't really make the difference for people. But if you pulled it, it was just like, ah! But it didn't change numbers.
I
I'll
also,
put that out there.
my concern is let alone the liability, is the cost. And do we really want to raise money for a bus when I personally think that if we are raising money, putting it in the hands of the artists is better than like a bus driver. That would just be one concern I would have on that. But I do think it's a great idea in theory. I do.
Easthampton's got school buses, the big yellow taxi.
I have
I'm
two
just
Dinner's buses, I mean.
two slightly different ideas. One, Northampton just launched, there's a private company that's a comedy bus that drives around Northampton and just does stand-up on the bus.
Oh, that's
We
fun.
could see if they want to come here on Art Walk
Adorable.
days and just
That would be
that.
fun.
And B, and this is slightly a different idea altogether, but I've always thought Williston should have a shuttle for their students so that their students, who a lot don't have cars, could get to Eastworks and could get downtown to Cottage Street and back and forth. Because
They
You
do
know.
have a shuttle.
they do?
Yeah, I know they take the students to the movies and different
Could
things.
it be possible for them to open that up to the public?
Yeah, I know. Well, I was thinking that when someone mentioned Williston, maybe it would be a way of them giving back to the community.
Right.
Yeah,
I
like a
got trained on the
partnership.
bus at
Yeah.
Williston a long time ago.
'Cause
so-
I used to live in Somerville and near Tufts, and I used to
wouldn't be our
pretend to be a
driver, bus
Tufts
driver?
all the time
Be
to
a
get on my
party.
shuttle.
Yeah, yeah.
Community mixer, you know?
Cindy might want to be the bus driver.
It would be really fun. I just have, they're just people that I think would really get out of, we would just see things spin faster, maybe.
I like the whole movement element of, I think Art Walk should be a little bit about the actual going from place to place and not just the places. Because
Yeah.
that's what I think the Wine and Walk or Sip and Stroll, they're two different names for what happened at Eastworks, but both kind of capture that,
Mhm.
which was good. So there is something to that.
Yeah.
There was also talk, I don't know where it stands now, rebuilding that footbridge across Lower Mill Pond,
Yeah,
That
let's
would
do
be
that.
awesome.
They had a meeting about that last
because that would
Friday.
make it real easy.
So Eastworks is hot on that for sure, and they have reached out to the Kestrel Land Trust to sort of see if they're willing to be a partner to spearhead that. It's not a straightforward project.
course.
It'll involve the Army Corps of Engineers, I think. So yeah, there's a
That's
lot
serious.
of permitting that. So it's not going to be a tomorrow thing, but they are actively like pursuing it. So
Across the mill pond, is that what it's
yeah,
called?
where the
Lower
old
mill
bridge
Lower
used to
mill
be,
pond.
for the mill workers to cross over from housing
From
to
the
the
city.
mills. So yeah, they've got several people in play on that already. So it's in the works. It just won't happen.
That's cool.
Yeah, I don't think.
Very cool.
And make it wicked easy.
I like
At least
the
between those
I
two
love
venues.
that
Yeah.
idea. All right, and we don't have to have a bus.
I do love the comedy bus idea.
I mean, that's,
That
again,
would be
like,
fun. That would be a good, that way then you have sort of the art element and you have the transportation element.
I'm just thinking it's a win-win, like maybe there's people who come to Art Walk who might
Right.
wanna pay that, maybe it's a paid thing. I think
Yeah.
it is, but like, still, it's another thing we can have.
The more
Yeah.
the merrier.
I really like the bluegrass at City Space as a part of Art Walk. Because it's just got that feel where you can drop in, sit for 15 minutes, sit for an hour, come, go, whenever, just always some music there.
That place was packed. And that was also a big part of the Art Walk numbers being generated.
Yeah.
So,
I think it's great. So it does sound like there's a lot of interest on this group about looking into the possibility of some kind of transportation connector at Art Walk. I will take a look into what may or may not be possible. I personally really like the idea of everything that's been surfaced, a partnership with an institution that already has all those pieces in place. That would be very challenging for us to like create out of, well, I don't want to say air, but to like establish. So I will look into just gathering some more information about this ahead of our next meeting, and we'll report back to you all on that. Sorry, I came across as a little
Negative?
reactive, but yeah, I think I just feel like so good about where things are, and I'm in a very growthful kind of way, and I do get nervous adding new things that require attention. So that's what that was about for me. But I hear it and I get it, and information's always a good thing. So we can proceed from there.
great. Thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, thank you, Cindy. Sorry.
I'm sorry. Like, I would have brought it up if they had said, well, Pasqualina says that there's a bus somewhere.
Pasqualina says.
All right. Public art?
Yeah, so public art. Couple of different things. The Public Art Committee has been working on our next fundraiser. We're going to be having another Have a Heart for Public Art fundraiser at Galaxy on Sunday, March 2nd, from 10 to 12. And things are in good shape, kind of getting that put together. And the Public Art Committee would like to, or is moving forward with some, and I'll just give this a little context. It's much easier to raise funding, to raise money to create public art than it is to protect and maintain and repair public art. So the city of Easthampton has a growing collection of public artworks that the city, that like technically and like in contract belong to the city. So it really is up to us to maintain them. I don't know of any funds that are specific to maintaining or repairing art. So one of the things that the Public Art Committee likes to do is have fundraisers, and essentially we raise money to keep a little piggy bank for if and when public artworks need repair. We just refurbished a mural, as you all know, Brendan Stachini's sculpture on the Nashawanek Pond needs about $600 of maintenance, like every 3 to 5 years to keep it like tip top, like rust free and, looking really sharp.
What sculpture is this?
The one right on the boardwalk, right across the street, right
megaphone
here.
thing?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought that's stainless steel.
It is, but it is out in the world and
Yeah.
it gets weathered and so these are ongoing things that we take care of. And so in addition to these, annual fundraisers at Galaxy, the Public Art Committee came up with an idea of making puzzles and magnets. This is it's like different than, it's like horse beef, it's backwards. The horse and cart thing, but it's different than that. Anyway, so we were talking, the Public Art Committee has raised money. They would like to go ahead and have already purchased puzzle. We did a lot of research on companies, this and that, making the new Peggy Gross mural that we just refurbished into a puzzle. It's like really beautiful. Tracy took a professional photograph, and they cost money. And I said that I would come to this committee. I normally prepare a little financial report anytime I'm asking to allocate funds to like a particular thing. We have about $70,000 in all of our different accounts right now. And about 30,000 of that is like money that's not assigned to a certain program or project or any one thing. So I said that I would come to this committee and ask if $1,000 could be given to the ECA Public Art Committee. This is work as part of our organization to help kind of get these things going. The puzzles with the shipping, with the everything are going to be about $1,200. We had to order 65 minimum. We have to have a meeting on Wednesday and we'll be talking about what we want to sell them for. But I think we're going to make maybe $25 a puzzle type of thing, which will be great. And magnets are going to be $320. So it's $1,000 toward funds that they've already agreed to spend from the money that Public Art Committee has raised. But I did want to come to the committee to see if we could kind of help that and support them in that way. That just means that means there's another $1,000 that's like already there. So it's not all coming from Public Art.
What kind of magnets?
For the refrigerator.
$300 a piece?
No,
That's the total.
$320 for 150 magnets.
Okay.
So you're getting 150 magnets. How many puzzles?
150 magnets, and I think it's like 64 puzzles. It's like a odd,
How many
unusual
pieces
number.
are the puzzles?
They're nice puzzles. We have 2 puzzle people on our committee. I was like, let's just make little one, and they're like, no one's gonna want that. These puzzles are like, how big are they? They're large. They
How many
have,
pieces? Like
I want to say
people in my
650.
family really like.
Yeah,
Wow.
they're like legit.
650.
No,
They're
you want-
legit puzzles.
You want
Okay.
1,000 pieces and
Like we
confuse
like
everybody.
1,000 piece in my family.
Yeah, I mean,
I
it's
don't
not
know if
quite
they're
1,000.
1,050,
It's not
but
quite
it's
1,000. We
just
also were
because-
working with like
funds. And
funding.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had to make some choices.
it's going to be because a puzzle is like a horizontal, so it's going to be kind of a long, skinny puzzle. So,
65 going to get out.
So you're
assuming
asking
that
this
it's gonna be
committee for
the
1,000?
popular
You're
they're gonna
asking
sell out.
Steve
yeah,
for
and then we could always
I'm
order more.
asking the
Yeah.
ECA coordinating committee if we could help the Public Art Committee. We had talked at our last couple of meetings about different fundraisers this year in coordination with our 20th anniversary. I think the Public Art group does a lot of work, puts in a lot of effort. They're a really dedicated group, and they're the only group in our organization that is actively fundraising and has been consistently fundraising. So I just thought it would feel nice for the organization to support those efforts.
Are you looking for a motion or are we still discussing?
I just have a question. I have a question. So I didn't know there was a public art committee. So are there other committees that are is that considered a subcommittee of this committee?
It is considered a
Who's
subcommittee.
on it? How are they put on it?
So
I don't know names,
Easthampton City Arts, yeah, you raise an important question.
Oh, thanks.
So Easthampton City Arts is an organization. This is the steering committee for that organization.
Yeah.
And we have 2 active subcommittees. One is the Public Arts Subcommittee that has been going on for years and years, like more than 10 years for sure, and maybe considerably longer than that. And the other is the Cottage Street Cultural District Subcommittee. And so that public art meets on the first Wednesday of every month at 5:15 downstairs, and the Cottage Street Cultural District Subcommittee meets the second Wednesday of every month at 9 a.m. downstairs. And that is primarily cultural chaos focused.
Yep.
It's like a planning, but we do other things in the district. So those are, and we've had other committees in the past. Those are our current committees. And they really focus on public art. We do fundraising, we do open calls for artists. There's always a report at this meeting about what's going on each of the committees. Yeah, I'm sorry that wasn't clear.
I was learning as I
Peter's
go.
a newer member.
Anybody else have any questions or comments on the $1,000?
I mean,
Go ahead.
I'm inclined to do it, but I also don't, I don't know if I just haven't, I guess, seen like an annual report or a budget report in terms of what we usually bring in, what the costs are, and, you know, what's the liability here or not. In general, I would defer to you and the committee. $1,000 doesn't seem like a lot, but is there a process of budget reporting? I'm sure there is, but where are we at with that?
Yeah.
When's
So
the fiscal year
thank
starting
you.
to end?
These are important questions. So our fiscal year is July 1st to June 30th. And in usually around May, I present a budget to this group and just show people kind of, I always include the 2 previous years. So kind of just like looking at how it's been and where we are and kind of what the reasonable expectations are for the year to come. And people take a look and ask questions, and it's usually pretty straightforward because we have, you know, it's like limited funding and limited and like pretty straightforward programming. Every now and then at a meeting, I ask a question like this around funding when we wanted to hire a marketing assistant,
Right.
when we, you know, so we kind of like, I usually bring in a little kind of snapshot of our accounts and so that people have some context about making financial decisions.
So you're the treasurer kind of as well, in terms of like
I'm not technically a
monitoring.
treasurer,
Is there
but I'm a staff person, and so I'm the person who does all of the fundraising for the organization and all of the financial paperwork processing. And I work with the planning director, I work with the city auditor, so there are ledger reports, like every cent is accounted for on ledger reports. So it's kind of great. There's this like in-house, like serious bookkeeping that happens, and everything is itemized about every dollar coming in and every dollar going out. Yeah, there's a lot of transparency around municipal finances.
is that ever sort of a standard part of meetings here at the agenda, report on where that stands?
Like I
Does that
said,
sense
the way
at
that
all?
it's generally happened is ahead of the next fiscal year, we'll have a financial conversation, so we all kind of have a sense. And then when I'm asking for any kind of money to be put anywhere toward anything. We went through this with like Art Walk marketing. We added money, a marketing assistant, we added money. Then I'll bring in like a snapshot of our current accounts so that there's context.
I remember I think you did that before when we were talking about the assistant and stuff like that. Money, okay. All right, thanks. I don't mean to derail any
No,
potential
it's
motion.
really, I'm glad you asked, and it's really important, and it's like a good kind of reminder and refresher for everybody, so please always feel free.
Right, so the $1,000 will come from the ECA budget and go to the Public Art Committee to help buy the puzzles?
It will come from the ECA donations account, which is an account that we have in the city for money that's not assigned to any one program.
There's no, okay.
Yeah, so it's, it's money that's there.
Slush fund.
Yeah, and it is. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
discretionary,
considered an
yeah.
emergency fund, and we needed it during COVID to help support artists, and so that's always a conversation with this group.
So just so you know, we get a lot of grants. We get a lot of grants from MCC. Pascalina gets grants,
Massachusetts Cultural Council.
Yeah.
Right.
And River Valley Co-op does also gives us money for various things. So we do have a nice bank account in the sense of it's not like we don't have the funds. So.
And the city covers my wages, and all the other programming we do is covered by funds that have been raised primarily through grants and also local sponsors.
But the Public Art Committee can't just help themselves to $1,000. Like
They can. They have raised that money. They've already chosen to move forward with these things.
Okay.
They do a lot of fundraising for public art. We are an organization that has done a lot of fundraising, and that's money that we have, and I know would just help raise more money for public art. It's kind of like under the umbrella of this organization that's actually, I think, a really strong arm because it's activating public spaces in a long-term, ongoing way. It's also, we tend to choose spaces like, I've done a lot of work, and ECA has historically done a lot of work with the city engineering department about putting in footpads for future public sculptures. So as part of this Union Street redesign, there are 2 new footpads for future public sculptures. We're paying, it went from $5,000 to $10,000, and with all the rising costs of raw materials and what it costs to like be an artist and have a studio, prices are going up. Like $10,000 was not enough money at all for this sculpture. It took a lot to fundraise that. So I just think that we're an organization who has money in the bank, and we are putting it to good use. And by helping the Public Art Committee in this way, it helps more public art happen. So that's kind of my logic for coming here to this group at all.
I think we have a bigger pool to draw from than the Public Art Committee. So it's just a little easier for us to kind of chip in.
No, I understand everything you're saying. I'm just saying, why can't Public Art just say like we need this money and then we give it to them? Like that's what we're doing, right? Like
That's what I'm asking.
Okay,
That's what
yeah.
I would like,
So,
that's
yeah,
what
it
I would
seems
love
like-
to have happen today.
Yeah, I say yes. You know?
I second.
Would someone
All
like
in?
to make a motion
Yeah.
about
Motion
this?
to approve $1,000 for the public art for these magnets and puzzles.
Second.
All in favor?
Uh,
All right,
Great.
great.
Is there any, I don't want to, since there's more public art than just the mural, what about the mural on Union Market that looks, the one you you see immediately when you drive into town, is there a possibility of making a puzzle out of that?
Yes, so we're gonna do this puzzle as a
Yeah.
little trial. There were minimum numbers, so we had to,
Yeah.
and we didn't want to choose 3 murals or 2 murals to get started. We said, let's like do one. We'll see how the puzzles do. We'll see how the magnets do. We talked about t-shirts. We decided against it. It gets really complicated with sizes and this and that. And then we talked about tote bags. They were kind of expensive and we didn't think for the amount we could sell them for. A lot of people have tote bags, da da da. So this was kind of the thought. And then, yeah, like if it goes well, honestly, I think we're gonna sell all the puzzles. Like, I think
It's a great
people are
gift
gonna
item.
want the puzzles and the magnets.
It's a great
So,
image.
Yeah, it's a great mural, and Easthampton City Arts, our logo is on the box, so it kind of promotes our
Where would we
organization.
only be selling it at like the city art, like the old town hall, or where would you find this?
We were thinking about working with, like, talking to local stores who would want to partner with us where we would get the proceeds. Maybe there'd be some sharing of that. Also, we're planning on having a fundraiser at the end of the year. We would definitely have it there. We are going to have them at the Have a Heart for Public Art brunch.
I was gonna say,
that's been
Everyone
like
there will buy a magnet.
been very
At least,
motivating with our
yeah.
timeline to make sure we have everything there. We'll make a nice display and we'll be promoting them through social media. So I think multiple
You don't need
places.
extra venues, puzzles, and magnets.
But it's something so I just wanted to say, I love this idea. I think you could see this, I see this money as seed money that we're giving them. Because you sell 64 puzzles and then you use that money to buy more puzzles. And then it's just a win-win because that's just our mural, our art getting out there to more and more people. And it's just, they're taking Easthampton home with them to Chesterfield or wherever. So, no, I love this idea. I want to see a whole series of magnets and stickers and whatnot, bumper stickers.
So that's a good way to phrase it too, a seed fund. It's great.
Great, thanks.
I've also gone down the road with merch where you tend to think you'll sell more than you will. I think you guys will do well with this stuff though.
Yeah, I think it's like
I
the
ha-
puzzles are special
I have a
enough.
lot of t-shirts.
Yeah.
Where,
Yeah.
Yeah, and at Cultural Chaos, we'll have a public art table and we'll be selling puzzles and magnets.
More
Yeah.
puzzles, yeah.
So that's great. I really appreciate it. I know they'll appreciate it. And I'm glad we get to tell them.
Yeah,
Wednesday.
all right, Carter Street Cultural District.
Yeah, so I felt like I had a major update about that. Cottage Street Cultural District planning is like deeply underway for Cultural Chaos. It's the second Saturday of June, Saturday, June 14th. I know.
My life difficult.
Making a lot of people's lives difficult because for the last number of years, the second Sunday of the month, when it always is, took place the weekend before Father's Day. This year, it switched because of the dates. So it's the weekend of Father's Day, and it will also be this way for, I think, the next 2 to 3 years after this. So, yeah, planning is underway. I don't know if I told this group because our last meeting was in December. I don't know the timeline. You may already know this. I did get $15,000 from the Massachusetts Cultural Council earlier than usual. I think it was, maybe I already told you, I think it was like in November. For Cultural Chaos, there was a little question mark if that funding was going to even continue at all this year. It did. We got it. That's great. I also already got okayed for $10,000 this year from River Valley Co-op. So that's all in place. That's really great. That doesn't usually come until like April. I'm always a little like optimistically crossing my fingers on that. So Cultural Chaos is like nice and financially more than covered, which is great. And that's all getting planned. The other thing that's happening in the Cottage Street Cultural District that I just want to make sure stays on everyone's radar. Oh, I printed out these beautiful year of events coming up that I meant to bring and I didn't. They're downstairs. But anyway, we had talked about the Art Floats Easthampton event that's happening right here on the pond and on the boardwalk on Saturday, May 17th at 2. Rain date the next day at 2. And I remember we had a lot of conversations about this last summer and fall, thinking we were going to do it in the fall. But the whole idea of identifying all of the different arts and cultural groups in our community, tabling along the boardwalk, having a floating sculpture event, like, I just think it's great. I think spring is going to be a great time to do that. So all of that is also still underway.
Do you want to talk,
Yes, that's what it was.
Yeah.
And then, so I had mentioned last year that the Massachusetts Cultural Council, this was why there was a question mark about cultural district funding this year for existing cultural districts. They are doing a little deep dive into this program. And Easthampton City Arts was one of 7, I think, organizations in like all of Western Mass, including the Berkshires. I think it's like Eastern plus Cape, Central, and then Western. So we were part of that. Tracy participated on that call. And it was basically a focus group talking about like how things are going and what kind of support might be needed and, just very, very broad strokes. But they're doing, this is important for this to be on everyone's radar, because they're doing a real reassessment about how they want to move forward with that funding. Also, who knows, that's all funding that comes from federal budget, so we will see what happens to begin with there. But there had been some talk last year about some questioning of MCC's decision to continually fund and grow funding for existing cultural districts when it's really hard to start your own cultural district if you're not already quite resourced as a municipality. So I think it's a very worthwhile reassessment. I think it's very healthy that they are taking a look into that. But it used to be 5,000, then it went up to 7,500, and it's been 15,000. I think this is the 3rd or 4th year in a row. So that is, and Cultural Chaos costs around 20,000. Those prices are all going up. So that 15,000 is like really important. And we will know more in the coming months about decisions being made and how that may or may not be affecting us. Yeah. Do you have any extra intel on any of that?
Just about like the application timeline for like the new programs.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about recurring.
Yeah.
Carolyn did say that there wasn't going to be a risk of cutting in cultural districts.
Yeah, that was my understanding on this call. I sat in on it was a Zoom call where there was some council members from the Berkshires, there was Greenfield, there was Montague, Turner's Falls kind of area. And I think a number of people were kind of concerned about the funding, but the woman running, she wasn't from MCC, she was sort of a focus group kind of person but she made it clear that the funding wasn't getting cut. It was they're just kind of assessing how they're managing. I think their capacity is also getting smaller, and so they're trying to streamline, trying to, make things more efficient and stuff. So I felt really good when I got off the phone that it wasn't like, oh, they're gonna, cut our funding.
They should just give us more money and we'll administer it.
Right.
Yeah, it's no problem.
So, but it was interesting, and it was good to kind of meet other councils out there.
I hate to bring up the coastal gate, Marla, but a while back, there was some discussion about rebranding Cultural Chaos.
There was.
Is that dead and buried or not? It just suddenly came to mind.
It is not dead and buried. It is not dead and buried.
Is that?
Is it just in a coma right now?
It's on a feeding tube somewhere.
Little background. There has always been some question around the name Cultural Chaos. It can sound a little tone deaf. Like, I've grown up in cities my whole life. When I moved here, I was really surprised that there was a festival with that name. And during the pandemic and during like post-George Floyd, there was a 2-year break of Cultural Chaos, like 2 years in a row, no event. So 3 years since the last event, when we did it again, there had been a discussion among our cultural district committee that did not miss a meeting all through COVID. We met on Zoom, did not miss a meeting, even with 2 years with no Cultural Chaos. And the group unanimously decided, we had a discussion about it. We unanimously, I'm not a voting member, it was unanimously decided to change the name because of the different implications and like why, there is Cultural Chaos. Like why would, it's like an evolving meaning. And so it was like a totally fair process that we went about. The new name that was decided, which really was like generated among the group members, which was short-sighted of us to not have more community input, was really not well received. Changing the name wasn't well received. There was so much energy around that, and it was announced 3 months before our first event in 3 years, and we just turned the ship around. We just like called an emergency meeting. We're like, we honestly don't have bandwidth to properly respond to this. We are going to step back, and if we ever are going to change it, it needs to look really differently than how it went. So it's been a couple years. We've continued with the name Cultural Chaos, but as a conversation, nothing has ever been voted on. Like, we will not discuss this. I personally think it's a really worthwhile discussion. And I think I would just say to the group, if there is a lot of interest in changing the name, well, I'm not even going to say it.
No,
I was going to be a little administratively forward about it, but I think if there's if that feels like an important discussion to have, I think it's worth having.
well, it doesn't have to be today, but
Yeah.
And if the Cultural Chaos the Cultural District Committee they're still sitting on it, that's fine.
I think that committee would be inclined to keep the name and move forward. These are volunteers. They are store owners. They have to put a lot into preparing for the event itself as store owners, and they do a lot to make the event happen.
Right.
So I think what we experienced, I think in order to do it properly, it would be kind of like what we did with Art Walk and changing Art Walk, making some room for a lot of pushback.
Oh, yeah.
Having community meetings, having a community survey, having a lot of plans in place for how to respond each step of the way. I think from a capacity standpoint, it's trying. I don't think that's a good enough reason to not have the conversation or to do that. But my inclination is that the Cultural District Committee is not inclined to take it upon themselves to want to open that up again. I think if this committee felt strongly about that, then I think we can talk about the best way to communicate with that group and to revisit that conversation.
I'm remembering back, wasn't there an idea that we were gonna, during cultural chaos, use that as an opportunity to kind of get feedback and solicit ideas from people and kind of like crowdsource some ideas so that it wouldn't be for that year, but it'd be about using that space as a platform for, as a community meeting for subsequent year or years. Did that ever come to?
That didn't happen. We had talked originally to depict who was going to do it, and then things changed with them like quite close to the event, and they were no longer able to do it. I feel like if we were to do something at Cultural Chaos, I think it is very sensitive on many levels. And I feel like the only way I would feel comfortable having it at that space is to have it be very facilitated with people who are very experienced facilitating a lot of just complex feelings, really valid complex feelings on all sides of that. People, many people in this community were really angry and really upset that the name would be changed.
I would just like to
And
say
I just
again,
want to say it was very real, and there's a sense of belonging and a sense of, there are many things involved in that. So that would be my only feeling is like, we want to do it well.
stated this last time this came up, but I would count myself among those people who would be very upset if they changed the name. I think Cultural Chaos is unique. It's one of the things that I first discovered about Easthampton when we moved here. I think the whole idea that chaos is a pejorative is wrong-headed. Chaos is where creativity comes from. Art comes from chaos. So I think this is a solution in search of a problem, and I've yet to meet anyone outside of this room who's mentioned it.
Yeah, I've met a lot of people who feel differently, but I think that messaging and like change, introducing, like a couple years ago, we had a tagline that kind of like redirected a little bit. So, I like those suggestions and kind of like to recontextualize it in like a really simple way, and to kind of give the meaning that we want. So, yeah.
Well, they can come to the meeting if they have a problem and speak up.
Many people have been to many meetings and did speak up, and it was also very well-founded. They were not flip, it did not come from nothing. These are longstanding community members who were really disappointed in us to see it be changed back. Anyway, I think
There are a lot of feelings.
Yeah.
there are.
In summary,
Yeah,
short.
there are. And I don't
It's a
think
complex
tonight's the
question.
night to try to
Thanks,
like
Yeah, sorry.
solve it. No, I'm glad you brought it up, actually, because I do think it's important, and it's something we can continue to talk about, and
I have no need to change it, but it just came to mind. We're talking
yeah,
about.
I had very positive discussions with the community
It's
members who were most upset about its
Yeah.
name as it is, and everybody seems to be okay at the moment, and also understanding. Like, I could really speak to what we went through and why we ended up making the choices we did. So
To be continued. Or not. All right.
Delete that part of the program.
Let's move on to new membership. I think with Felicia leaving the committee, we have an opening or two.
yeah.
Peter has a new member, which is great. So anyway, we wanted to talk about that a little bit.
I would love to recruit someone from THIC. Sean did that for the ECC.
From what?
THIC, the Heavy Culture Cooperative, that's opening over in the old massage school.
Oh, yeah.
And they seemed like they were interested, like they recognize that they should be like participating in.
This is the music space that was brought up last.
Yes.
Okay.
And one thing on that note related, I set up a time to meet with Tom Peak, and we'll be touring the space on Thursday. of this week. They have talked about there's an upstairs and a downstairs where there could potentially be artist studios. We used to run a artist residency program, a studio residency program that closed when we moved out of Eastworks, and it's something we've talked about really wanting to see happen in some way, shape, or form again someday. So I'm going to go with an open mind and check it out. But yeah, I think as a new cooperative, it could be a really great. I like the idea of reaching out to people. We are a public committee, so anyone can apply to join.
We're not obligated to put out something like on a city website, or?
It's posted on the city website. I think there are technically currently 2 or 3 spots, because Jeff used to occupy one and Felicia, and I think there was one already. So it's posted.
Yep, I found out about it in the Gazette. That's how I saw it.
Great.
Yeah, the mayor's office oversees the open positions on each board and committee, and they probably do put a push out to the Gazette every so often to get the word out. I imagine. Yeah. And Facebook is always a good avenue too, the city's Facebook.
Great. Any other comments or thoughts on that?
Is there someone from THIC that we should ask?
I know
There
that,
was Lisa came.
yeah, I don't know if she's the person. I mean, she's on their governance committee, and it seemed like their governance committee was the body that was like, yes, we should think about joining municipal committees.
Maybe when you talk to
I was
Tom.
just going to say, when I meet with Tom on Thursday, I'll let him know that this came up at our meeting, and is there any, I mean, he knows all about municipal processes, and is there anyone in particular that he think could be a good fit for the group?
Is THIC an acronym for something?
Yeah, it's an acronym for the Heavy Culture Co-op.
All right. Let's go on to the Easthampton Futures Project update.
Yeah, so it was a great night. I'd say there were about 50 people total who came. It felt really good to present to the community. I appreciate that so many of you were there. Just about how much we really listened to what people had to say and what people wanted to see. I feel very motivated. You know, it was really easy for that work, this kind of like big picture work, to, you know, get put on hold while we were busy, like, I don't like the word pivot, but recalibrating and like, you know, doing things differently and then readjusting to opening things up again. So it just felt really good. It was a great call to like be with that work. As I mentioned that night, I was very moved by how well our work and vision held up through all these like changes in the world we could never have anticipated. So I just feel really proud of it all. So I want to kind of continue with the momentum that was generated through that. And I would like to, like, before April, I'm saying that, write that down. It's being recorded. All these witnesses. Things really pick up in April. Between now and April, I would like to finalize the report. I want to make an executive summary. I want to put together a full report of the Easthampton Futures Project. I want to add a page to the website where it can always be accessed. I want to share it far and wide, you know, with our local community, with everyone who was there and attended the original meetings. With the Massachusetts Cultural Council, you know, I want Michael Bobbitt to receive this. I want different local and regional elected officials to receive it. Like, I just think it's really fantastic work. It's a great model for other communities who want to, you know, create a vision for arts and culture in their respective places. And one of the things that we had talked about when we first did it was to have it, originally the idea was it was going to be a standalone chapter, the arts and culture chapter, in the city's next master plan. The city changed directions. They didn't want to do like a standard traditional master plan anymore, but rather having each department kind of create a vision and a plan for themselves. But our mayor, our very supportive mayor, is leaving in November, or in technically January. We don't know who's coming in. I would like to have the report adopted by, and I don't even know the right terminology, so I'm going to use the word adopted, but I don't know right exactly how, and I'll maybe want to talk to you about process and city council. I would like for the report to be adopted by city council. At the very least, as a gesture, as a very formal gesture on the part of the city itself to say, we care about this, we support this. You know, many of our current city councilors were there to help make that. So I would like to, as part of that, present it to city council, you know, to like really let them know like all the work we're doing and why it's valuable in our city. So that's sort of what I'm thinking, and I'd be open to different ideas.
Just really quick, where was this event hosted?
It's City Space
City
on
Space.
January 22nd.
Okay.
Is there any mechanism in place for receiving feedback? Like people who say, oh, you know, there's something, I have something in mind that might, like for the next kind of.
Yeah, so that
People who-
night, I think it was Carolyn Cushing who asked a similar thing. And so, yeah, I think that when it's shared, you know, we called this a living document when we made it, that this can evolve. I think my feelings are to like add, so not change. I think that was like, I want to kind of lock that in and really respect it and not change it. But I do think we can add, these are new priorities that are coming up. So I'm actually really glad you said that, because my other note is not on this paper. And this paper, I think, will come forward with me. But yeah, it's also an opportunity to kind of let people know, you know, we welcome their thoughts, their feedback, their ideas, and that will be collected and kind of, you know, I think we're going to, I think the idea is to revisit this as we're approaching 5 years from now.
Right.
And like, yeah, assess how we want to go about that.
Was this a slideshow that you presented?
Yeah.
Okay. I missed it, obviously. I'm just trying to fill in my notes here, minutes. Okay.
Congratulations to you, Pascalina, that was really great.
Oh, thank you.
Can you share the slideshow with us?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, that'd be cool,
Yeah.
because that'll help me.
Absolutely.
Okay.
What I'm actually going to do is just make the report, and I'm going to send that to you all for feedback first, just like before it's shared far and wide.
Cool.
I just think that seems like the right thing to do. And I'll also share it with our partners at Depict and our partner from UMass at UACT, who were very instrumental in making it all happen. And they're good editors, and they know me well, and they can let me know when something needs attention. Asking for feedback.
When you're sharing it out, I just wanted to note that NEFA recently announced that they're gonna be doing a regional arts plan, and it'd be a good one to.
Cool, thank you. NEFA is the New England Foundation for the Arts. Yeah, maybe when I send the report to you all for feedback, I'd like to make a Google Doc with people we should be sending this to. And you can all just add to that all your ideas, even if they're like individuals, organizations. You know, I think at this moment, like I haven't really like turned my mind toward that, but I think right now it's very limited in terms of like what I'm thinking. I think there might be lots of people, you know, academic, even people who, the Planning Association, National Planning Association, you know, there's like lots of different, or American Planning Association. Yeah, lots of different groups that might want to.
Great.
might be interested.
Awesome. Steve, would you like to give us the lowdown on the Cultural Council update?
Sure. So I'm now chair of the Cultural Council.
Congratulations, nice.
Which,
Had the inside track, huh?
yeah, basically. No one else wanted to raise their hand.
Steve's married to Felicia,
Yeah, and so
Became the
Felicia, my
city
wife, was the
councilor.
chair.
and they
You
were
guys
on
are taking
both.
over.
Each of them were on both committees.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're the
so-
chair. Now you're the new
Yeah.
chair.
So I'm the
Okay.
new chair. And so we just had a spot meeting last week, Zoom meeting, because we are still going through and finalizing our grant decisions for this upcoming year. They were all finalized at the end of last year and sent over to MCC. And then what happened was we had one, the process is denials go out first, and then there's a 2-week period where people can contest it. We had someone contest it, so then that had a whole process and that held up things. And then after that happened, MCC discovered that there was one application they left off for us, and so we didn't consider. And so we had to meet via Zoom to
God.
consider that. And then that person, which we passed on because the person already got granted, they get 2 weeks now to appeal.
Interesting.
So now we have to wait. We're in this period right now where we can't give the final answers to everyone until this period's over. So what we did is ask for permission from the MCC, got it, and emailed all the people who were accepted just a basic email saying, you were accepted. We can't tell you how much yet, but more info is coming very shortly.
Interesting.
So everyone now knows if they've been accepted or not. And that's the news.
I heard a little bit about that, but I didn't hear the whole. That's
Yeah.
really something.
Yeah.
Complicated. Good job, Steve.
So
Welcome
there's
to your new role.
I know. He jumped in,
Yes,
the deep
indeed.
end. So,
But I don't actually have like the actual figure how many we approved, but we did see almost 50% more applications this year. We had like 70.
That's huge.
And yes, there's a lot of cool projects, which
Awesome.
we'll be hearing more about.
Are you all? I know that last year you did a little
Event.
get together, and
In
are
March,
you
right?
planning
And
that?
Yeah.
Tracy is going to spearhead that.
Awesome. And where is that going to be again?
I'm assuming as long as I can get the brewery, abandoned building brewery.
Awesome.
Worked well.
Cool. And then one thing that hadn't been happening in recent years, just to my knowledge, is like, and I hear from grantees or from awardees sometimes, grantees sometimes, like if there could be like an announcement, like a press release or, something that's sort of like, we congratulate all of this year, like just some public announcement. I'm just relaying what I've heard, that there's maybe some interest in that.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
And like maybe like a list of the funded programs or
Yeah.
just something.
It is on our website. We do have a
Oh, cool.
website, or Easthampton Cultural Council has a website. It's listed. There is an active Facebook page that all of that gets populated. So it's not a press release that has gone out, but
No.
there are things. But a press release would be a
It's a
great
good-
thing.
Yeah, I want to, let's get it in Mass Live and in the Gazette.
Yeah,
Cool.
exactly.
Awesome. Alexa Lewis is awesome with the arts coverage. I like reporters who are very good listeners, and I find her to be a very good listener. She's great.
All right.
Thank you.
So let's get into some upcoming events and programs.
Yeah, I talked about Art Floats Easthampton already. I just want to check in with everybody about, so we had talked about how pre-COVID, we historically had a fundraiser at what's now the Blue Room in City Space. And it was always in December. 2019, we changed it. It was so much effort to raise money that we were just like, we have money. I'd rather take remember saying I'd rather take a quarter of the time I spend planning this fundraiser and raise double the money through grants. And we have raised more than double of that. So we just changed it to like a volunteer appreciation, and it was like a really fun party. But we haven't done it since 2019. We haven't done it since COVID. And I think we should have a fundraiser again this year. There is, in our gallery, a small works show in the month of November. And I am advocating that we have a fundraiser in Old Town Hall in the month of November this year.
Oh, is this going to be sort of the end of the year, what we talked
Yeah.
about, the celebration?
Yeah.
So since it's our 20th year, it's also, I think, would be nice to have sort of a gala celebration type thing that is kind of splashy, maybe a little more splashy than we might otherwise do. And then we can kind of have a fundraising component to that.
Yeah.
So, so we should think about that now because, you know, those take a while to plan and get thoughts and ideas.
The way it's worked in the past is we would form a little planning team with like 2 or 3 people from this committee. I'm a part of that. And then maybe like 2 or 3 community members who like love planning parties and who are maybe good at fundraising and like well-resourced and, you know, just like want to be involved. And it's fun. You know, we start meeting monthly or like even every couple of weeks starting in usually like the summer, like July. And then we'll put a budget together. We'll like put a little vision together. We'll put a budget together. We'll present it to this group. I don't think people have to know tonight if you want to be a part of that. But if you have any interest, like, oh, that'd be fun. Like, I'll help plan the party. Please let me know. Let us know. Maybe the next meeting. But I think that, and then getting really creative about different fundraising things, like things we can do to make money, to raise money. And we talked about, I remember like there are some platforms where like we could be raising money online for months leading up to this event. Like there are a number of different ways we can think about it. Merch, this, that.
You know, have the small works available to be bought online.
Yeah. So like exactly. So stuff like that. That's a great idea.
So the party will be in the gallery with a small work show? Is that sort
It'll
of the-
be in
somewhere
city space, like
in
throughout
city
all of
space?
Old Town Hall.
Okay, throughout all.
All of Old Town.
But is that the
I mean,
same
we
as
talked
Tracy's
about that.
gala?
We could also do it somewhere else.
We could do it somewhere
I
else.
don't think Old Town Hall is necessarily a you know, a definite,
yeah.
a guarantee, but that is a good space, you know, Blue Room and
It's
stuff.
also familiar to people. Like I
Yeah.
think there's some history there.
Yeah, but there's other, you know, venues around town that we could, depending on how big it is and what kind of venue, what kind of event.
Yeah.
But it's a volunteer appreciation party in the Old Town Hall. Or no, this is sort
It's
of.
an ECA annual gala and fundraiser.
It's going to
Okay.
be the
And
20th
annual-
anniversary
No,
gala.
We did this for every
fundraiser.
year
We have. It's been
before
annual.
COVID.
But this
Yeah.
is separate from the appreciating volunteers.
No, there are many things that happen at this party, and
Okay,
appreciating
I-
volunteers
Okay,
is
so
one of
that's
them.
part of it.
Well, I think what she was saying, what you picked up on, Cindy, was that
Real dress up.
it used to be like a
Black tie
fundraiser, then
affair
it
at the-
turned
at the
into
Rock
a
Hill.
volunteer appreciation.
Okay,
After-
and
Starte
volunteers will be
Farms
appreciated
have
at this
their
fundraiser,
farm-
okay.
But now it's
Formal
going to
or farm
be a,
prom every year at Marigold, and it's just the farmers who get all dressed up.
Oh, Marigold too.
Marigold's
That's
an
space.
Yeah.
option.
yeah, there's a lot of options.
There's a lot of options.
You're
So,
thinking free event or charging tickets?
no, we charge.
Yeah.
So in the past, we always there was always like different price points. So it was always like a $20 minimum. But I don't think, I'm just saying what it was.
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
gonna-
think, I think this is a new day.
To be
And it's
determined what it
TBD in the notes. But, you know, it was like, and for $50, you'd get this thing. And like for $100, you
Get a
know, it was
magnet.
kind of like, you get a
And a
magnet.
puzzle.
Yeah, you get for $1,000, you get your puzzle. So yeah, I think that these are all, yeah, and I did jump ahead with the location. I keep picturing it there, but that's just like my memory stuff. I think we would put together a planning team. I would like to identify who's on the planning team by like April. I just kind of want to know how this is gonna go. And I think it would be up to the planning team to take a deep dive, explore lots of different possibilities, and would come to this committee with ideas, and then this committee would then vet what will happen. But planning the party at this meeting is not what should happen.
Right.
Like, it just gets too off.
Yeah.
Big picture stuff.
I think talking to Denise, since she was one of the originators of
Yeah.
ECA, I mean, she was there at the beginning. She may not be available, but I'm just thinking,
She's on the public art committee.
yeah.
I know, I know.
Just thinking of past members who were still around, who had some.
That'd be really nice. I like that.
influence.
I bet they'd
I would say
appreciate
Burns,
that
but
too.
she's probably up toward Neckwood City's place. Just to
But
draw
yeah,
in
I
people
like that, to think about the history and different
Yeah.
people who've been really instrumental in bringing us
Yeah,
here.
20 years.
And thinking about ways to honor people, actually, I think will be very, very important.
Yeah.
There's gonna be some of that at Cultural Chaos too. At first I thought of having like an exhibit of our bears, but it's gonna get complicated. So we're gonna take pictures of the bear, maybe have a little photo, so like I think giving a nod to some ECA history during the year, throughout the year at our events will be really important.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Any new business? Anybody?
Did we talk about the art floats? Is there
We
anything more to
talked
say?
about
We
it-
talked about the date
The date.
and the rain date, okay.
Oh, I mentioned it earlier, just
And
that that's
somewhere there are
still.
specs, right, to find out about like what,
Yeah,
where are those? Are they posted on the ECA website?
no, they're not posted yet.
Because we're interested
Yeah,
in middle school.
they
Well, let's.
will be posted.
Yeah, let's get that info out. It's,
Okay.
So we will get that to you. Steve.
Okay, great.
I guess one last thing, I should have put it on the agenda. This is a year where we bring in a new poet laureate in Easthampton. It's a 2-year term, and this year, Carolyn Cushing and I, our current poet laureate, put together an interest form, just as a way for people, if they're interested in becoming poet laureate, they can fill out. It's a very simple form, just like letting us know they'd like to be considered. So I will be posting that tomorrow morning, and so feel free to share it with all the poets in your communities. One of the most important things that, like, they don't have to live or work in Easthampton, but they have to be very active as poets in Easthampton. So there are many people in the valley where that applies to. So it's a simple form. I'll make sure. Maybe I'll send it to you all in an email too, so it's easy to share.
At the at Luthier's, when they have I know they have 2 open mic nights, right? Is one of them more poet heavy? I haven't been in a long time. Has anyone been? Tuesday or Wednesday?
Yeah.
Allison, whatever it is.
Margie.
That hasn't happened in a
I was
while.
gonna say, she's still doing that?
No,
No.
it's been a while
On
since,
what?
yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure about the open
Yeah,
mic night.
I was just curious if it was a place to announce it or make it, just to find people.
So it'll be posted on the ECA website. Post your favorite poet or share your favorite poet on the ECA website, or you're taking submissions. How do you?
It's more, I'm gonna be sharing an interest form
Okay.
through social media channels tomorrow. I shared it through the website, I'm sorry, through the newsletter last week. Actually, and before I did that, I did update our website with the form. It's on our website. I'm not always good with updating the website. You may have picked up on that, but I'm always like, website. Yeah, the website has been updated. And actually, it's a button on our homepage.
Wow.
Took care of that before the newsletter. Yeah,
All right.
I think that's it.
All right, everyone. Thank you for coming. The next meeting is March 3rd. Allison, thank you for being here. And
This is a real solid team who's seen us
yeah.
through a real lot of work and just like real thoughtful and has a lot of depth.
you're always welcome.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. All right. See you guys later. Meeting's
Thank you.
adjourned.
Thanks, everybody.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.